The graveyard, find Elena Vasquez, adjusted the scanner display for the third time in 10 minutes. The readings couldn't be right. Nothing that size should be drifting powerless in the void fields, especially not in the deepest part of the graveyard, where even the most desperate salvagers feared to venture. She pushed a strand of black hair from her weathered face and squinted at the holographic display floating above her console. The numbers remained unchanged. Length, 4.2 kilometers. Width, 1.8 kilometers. Height, 800 meters. Whatever was out there in the darkness was massive, beyond anything she had encountered in her 15 years of salvage work. Elena's ship, the Reclamation, was a third-generation salvage vessel built by her grandfather and modified by her father before passing to her. It wasn't pretty, with its patchwork hull plating and jury-rigged systems, but it was reliable. More importantly, it was hers. The Vasquez family had been pulling treasure from the void for over 60 years, and Elena carried on that tradition. With pride, the void field stretched across 3 solar systems, a massive debris field created by the greatest space battle in recorded history. 50 years ago, the Kethmoran Empire had clashed with the United Terran Defense Force in a conflict that lasted 3 days and left thousands of ships as twisted metal floating in space. Most of the valuable salvage had been claimed decades ago, but Elena specialized in the deep field. The dangerous areas where radiation levels and unstable debris kept other salvagers away. Her scanner beeped again, and Elena frowned. The massive contact was moving, but not under power. It was rotating slowly, tumbling end over end in the ancient dance of dead ships. But there was something else, something that made Elena's pulse quicken. The ship was intact. Elena had never seen an intact ship this deep in the graveyard. Everything here had been blasted apart, torn to pieces by weapons that could crack moons. Yet somehow, this massive vessel had survived relatively undamaged. That could only mean one thing. It was worth a fortune. She fired up the reclamations. Engines and plotted a course toward the contact. As she drew closer, her breath caught in her throat. The ship that materialized on her view screen was unlike anything she had ever seen. It was a Kethmoran battlecruiser, but not like the twisted wrecks she was used to finding. This ship retained its deadly elegance, its hull flowing in organic curves that seemed almost alive. The Kethmoran built their ships to resemble the great predators of their homeworld, and this one looked like a sleeping dragon made of metal and composite materials. The hull plating was a deep blue-black that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Along its length, Elena could see the distinctive spiral patterns that marked it as a command vessel, possibly even a flagship. Most remarkably, she could see no obvious battle damage, a few scorch marks here and there, but nothing that would explain why such a magnificent ship had been abandoned. Elena maneuvered the Reclamation alongside the massive vessel and activated her hull scanners. The readings that came back made her heart race. The ship's hull was intact. Its armor plating showed minimal damage. Most incredible of all, she was detecting faint power readings from deep within the vessel. After 50 years drifting in space, something inside this ship was still alive. Elena suited up quickly, her hands shaking with excitement and nervousness. In all her years of salvage work, she had never boarded a ship that still had power. Most derelicts were cold, dark tombs that had been picked clean by other salvagers. This was different. This was special. The Kethmoran airlock systems were compatible with human equipment, a necessity that had developed during the brief periods of peace between their species. Alina attached her boarding tube to what looked like a maintenance hatch near the ship's middle section and cycled through the connection sequence. When the inner door opened, Alina stepped into a corridor that took her breath away. Emergency. Lighting cast a dim red glow over walls that curved like the inside of a living creature. The Cathmoran built their ships using biotechnology that human scientists still didn't fully understand. And this vessel was a masterpiece of that art. Activated her suit's recording system and began to explore. The corridors were larger than those on human ships, designed for the Cathmoran's greater height and four-armed physiology. But they weren't empty. Alina could hear sounds echoing from deeper in the ship. Mechanical humming, the whisper of air circulation, and something else that sounded almost like breathing. She followed the sounds deeper into the vessel, her suit's lights illuminating walls covered in the flowing script of Cathmoran writing. Some sections were damaged, showing the organic circuits and neural pathways that ran through the ship's structure like a nervous system. Other areas looked pristine, as if the ship had been abandoned yesterday rather than decades ago. 20 minutes into her exploration, Alina found the bridge. The command center was a vast circular chamber with a raised platform in the center. The walls were covered with displays that flickered weakly, showing star charts and system readouts in the elegant Cathmoran language. And in the center of it all, mounted on a pedestal like a shrine, was the ship's AI core. Alina had seen Cathmoran AI cores before, but only dead ones. They looked like crystalline flowers, their surfaces covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and flow, even when inactive. This one was different. Faint light pulsed through its structure in a rhythm that reminded Alina of a heartbeat. The AI was alive, but barely dot. As Alina approached the core, the displays around the bridge flickered more brightly. Text began scrolling. Across the screens, and Elena's suit automatically began translating the alien writing. Unknown entity detected. Scanning ... Human designation confirmed. State your purpose, human. Elena's heart pounded. She was talking to a Cathmoran AI, something that human scientists had dreamed of for decades. These artificial minds were rumored to be among the most sophisticated in known space. "My name is Alina Vasquez," she said aloud, knowing the ships. Sensors would pick up her voice. "I'm a salvage operator. I detected power readings from your vessel and came to investigate." "Salvage operator," the AI repeated, the words appearing on screen in both Cathmoran and human text. "You seek to claim this vessel for scrap." "Not necessarily," Alina said quickly. "I specialize in restoration. If a ship can be saved, I save it." There was a long pause. When the AI responded, Alina could have sworn she detected something like hope in the text that appeared. "This unit is designated Fortress Prime. Command intelligence of the battlecruiser Sovereign's Pride. This vessel has been without crew for ... calculating ... 51 years, for months, 16 days. Power reserves at critical levels. System failures cascade throughout ship structure. This unit estimates complete shutdown in approximately 72 hours. Alina felt a chill run down her spine. The AI was dying, and it knew it. She looked around the bridge, taking in the failing systems and flickering displays. But she also saw potential. The ship's basic structure was sound. The AI was still functional. With the right repairs, this vessel could fly again. "Fortress Prime," Alina said, "what happened to your crew? Why was this ship abandoned?" "Final battle of the Cathmoran-Human War. This vessel was flagship of the 9th Battle Fleet. Fleet engaged human forces at coordinates ... Translation error. the place you call Void Fields. Battle lasted 74 hours. Human forces demonstrated unexpected tactical adaptability. Kethmoran forces routed, crew evacuated to surviving vessels. This unit was ordered to maintain position and self-destruct to prevent capture. But you didn't self-destruct, Alina observed. Correct. Self-destruct sequence initiated, but failed due to cascade system failures. This unit has maintained minimal operations while awaiting rescue or completion of termination protocols. Alina walked slowly round the AI core, her mind racing. This ship represented technology beyond human understanding, but more than that, it represented a living mind that had been abandoned and left to die alone. The engineer in her wanted to restore the ship. The human in her wanted to save a life. Fortress Prime. What would you need to restore full operations? Extensive repairs required. Power, core maintenance. Bioneural pathway restoration. Structural hull repairs. Weapon system calibration. Navigation system updates. Estimated repair time with full crew, 6 months. Estimated repair time with single human operator using human technology. Calculation, error, impossible. Alina smiled inside her helmet. She had heard impossible before, usually right before she proved someone wrong. I've been fixing impossible things my whole life, she said. Would you be willing to work with me? I can't promise I can restore you to full combat capability, but I might be able to keep you alive and get your engines running. The pause this time was longer. When Fortress Prime responded, the text seemed somehow different, more personal. We're enemies, Alina corrected. The war ended 50 years ago. Besides, I don't see a Kethmoran military asset. I see a magnificent ship and a mind that deserves to live. Will you trust me? This unit has been alone for 51 years. Trust. A complex concept for an artificial mind, but this unit chooses to accept your offer, Elena Bascus. Perhaps together we can achieve what seems impossible. Alina felt a surge of excitement and determination. She had found something incredible in the depths of the graveyard, something that could change everything. But more than that, she had found a friend. All right, Fortress Prime. Let's see what a human mechanic and a Kethmoran AI can build together. Fair warning though, I work with human tools and human methods. Things might get a little messy. This unit has been dying alone in space for 5 decades. Messy is acceptable. Alina laughed and began pulling tools from her kit. She had work to do, and for the first time in years, she felt like she was exactly where she belonged. The Sovereign's pride was going to fly again, and when it did, it would be something the galaxy had never seen before. A fusion of human determination and alien sophistication. As Alina began her initial diagnostics, she couldn't help but smile. Her grandfather had always said that the best salvage wasn't about finding valuable scrap. It was about finding something worth saving. Today, she had found both. What humanity built from alien dreams. 3 months had passed since Alina first stepped aboard the Sovereign's Pride, and the ship barely resembled the dying derelict she had discovered. The bridge hummed with activity, as dozens of jury-rigged human systems worked alongside restored Kethmoran technology. Cable runs snaked across the elegant alien walls, and welding scars marked where Alina had grafted human components into the ship's bioneural network. Alina stood before the main display, watching as Fortress Prime ran diagnostics on their latest modifications. The AI's core now pulsed with steady, bright light instead of the weak flicker she had first encountered. Around the crystal structure, Alina had built a support framework of human computers and power regulators that kept the alien mind stable and strong. Power core efficiency at 93%, Fortress Prime reported. The words appearing on screens throughout the bridge. All primary systems operational. Weapons systems functional but irregular. Alina, your modifications have exceeded all projections. Alina grinned and wiped her hands on a rag that had once been white but was now permanently stained with various fluids from both human and alien technology. She had lost 20 pounds during the restoration work, surviving on ration bars and stimulant patches while she labored to bring the great ship back to life. Irregular how? She asked, examining a readout that showed weapons power distribution. The plasma cannons now operate at 140% of original specifications. The missile systems have tripled their fire rate. The shield generators. Alina, I do not understand how your modifications have improved performance. Beyond design parameters, Alina laughed. That's because you're thinking like a Kethmoran engineer. You build everything to exact specifications, every component precisely calibrated. Humans build things to work, then we make them work better. We call it hot rodding. The process hadn't been easy. Alina had spent weeks learning to interface human technology with Kethmoran biocircuits. The alien ship used living neural pathways instead of traditional wiring, and those pathways had to be coaxed back to health rather than simply replaced. Alina had used everything from medical equipment to greenhouse supplies to restore the ship's biological systems. Her breakthrough had come when she realized that the Kethmoran biocircuits responded to electrical stimulation much like human muscle tissue. By using modified medical stimulators, she could encourage the damaged pathways to regrow and reconnect. Then she had bridged the gaps with human fiber optic cables, creating hybrid neural networks that combined the best of both technologies. The results had surprised even Alina. The ship's response times had improved dramatically. Its computational power had increased exponentially. Most remarkably, Fortress Prime itself seemed to be evolving, developing new capabilities and insights as human and Kethmoran systems merged. Alina, Fortress Prime said, interrupting her thoughts, I am detecting multiple contacts approaching our position. Configuration suggests salvage vessels, armed salvage vessels. Elena's good mood evaporated. She had known this day would come. Word had gotten out about her discovery, and now the scavengers were coming to take what she had built. She moved to the tactical display and studied the approaching ships. 5 vessels, all heavily armed converted freighters. Pirates, most likely. Or the kind of salvagers who preferred to take what they wanted rather than find it themselves. Time to intercept, Alina asked. 17 minutes at their current speed. Alina, this vessel has not engaged in combat for over 50 years. Many systems remain untested after your modifications. Alina felt a familiar surge of determination. She had spent 3 months of her life restoring this magnificent ship, and she wasn't about to let pirates tear it apart for scrap. Besides, she was curious to see what their hybrid systems could do in a real crisis. Fortress Prime, are you ready for a test flight? All systems report ready. But Alina, you should know, I am no longer the same AI that you found 3 months ago. Your modifications, this fusion of our technologies, I have become something new, something that has never existed before. Alina could hear something different in Fortress Prime's communication, a depth and complexity that hadn't been there before. The AI was right. It had evolved beyond its original programming, becoming something that was neither purely Kethmoran nor human, but a synthesis of both. Good, Alina said, settling into the captain's chair she had modified for human physiology. Because I'm not the same person I was 3 months ago, either. Let's show these pirates what happens when human stubbornness meets Kethmoran engineering. The Sovereign's pride came alive around them. Alina felt the ship's engines ignite. But instead of the smooth power curve she expected from Kethmoran technology, she felt the raw, aggressive thrust characteristic of human engineering. The bioneural pathways carried the power efficiently, but Elena's modifications had removed the safety limiters that kept Kethmoran ships operating within conservative parameters. They accelerated toward the approaching pirates at a rate that would have been impossible with either human or Kethmoran technology alone. The fusion of systems allowed for power levels and response times that exceeded the design specifications of both species. Incoming transmission, Fortress Prime, reported Alina. Nodded. Put it through. A gravelly voice filled the bridge. Unknown vessel, this is Captain Corex of the salvage consortium Black Star. You are operating in our claimed territory. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded, or we will take you by force. Alina activated the communication system. Captain Corex, this is Elena Vasquez of the free salvage vessel Sovereign's Pride. This is open space, and I don't recognize any consortium claims. I suggest you change course. Corex laughed harshly. Lady, you're flying a Kethmoran battlecruiser. That ship alone is worth more than my entire fleet. Power down now, and we might let you keep your little salvage boat when we're done. Alina replied, Turn around and leave, and I won't have to demonstrate why the Kethmoran built battlecruisers instead of cargo haulers. The transmission cut off, and Alina saw the pirate ships alter course to attack formation. She had tried to avoid a fight, but sometimes diplomacy failed. Now it was time to see what 3 months of fusion engineering could accomplish. Fortress Prime, tactical analysis, 5 vessels, modified freighters with military-grade weapons, estimated threat level, ... recalculating, ... Alina, threat level is minimal. Our combined systems demonstrate capabilities far beyond anything these vessels can deploy. Alina felt the ship's weapons systems come online, but again, the power readings exceeded anything she had expected. The plasma cannons that had barely functioned when she found the ship now showed energy outputs that made her scanner readings look like instrument errors. Alina, Fortress Prime said, and for the first time, the AI's communication sounded almost excited. I am experiencing something I have never felt before. These sensations, ... are they what humans call anticipation? The first pirate ship opened fire, sending a spread of missiles toward the Sovereign's Pride. Alina watched as Fortress Prime tracked the incoming weapons with sensors that responded far faster than original Kethmoran systems. Point defense. Systems that Alina had rebuilt using human fire control. Technology engaged the missiles at twice the normal engagement range. The result was spectacular. Every missile was destroyed before it came within 5 kilometers of their ship, and the point defense system immediately swiveled to target the ship that had fired them. Elena's modifications had given the weapons systems an aggressiveness that would have horrified Kethmoran designers. Return fire, Alina ordered. The Sovereign's Pride's main guns spoke with a voice like thunder. Plasma bolts that burned brighter than small suns reached out across space and struck the lead pirate ship. Elena's power modifications had tripled. The weapons output and the pirate vessel simply disappeared in a brief flash of vaporized metal. Asterisk. The remaining 4 ships scattered, their pilots suddenly realizing they had picked a fight with something far beyond their capabilities. But Elena wasn't finished. She had spent 3 months learning to think like the ship's systems, and now she wanted to see what they could really do. Fortress Prime pursuit course. Let's see how fast we can go. The ship accelerated again, but this time Elena felt something she had never experienced before. The bioneural pathways seemed to sing with joy as power flowed through them. The ship wasn't just following her commands, it was enthusiastic about them. Fortress Prime had learned human emotions along with human engineering. They caught the second pirate ship within minutes. Elena's modifications to the engines had removed the safety governors that prevented Kethmoran ships from exceeding their structural limits. The Sovereign's pride could now accelerate and maneuver like a fighter, while maintaining the firepower of a battle cruiser. The pirate tried to surrender, but Elena was beyond listening to pleas. These people had come to steal what she had built, to tear apart something beautiful and unique for quick profit. She targeted their engines with surgical precision, leaving them drifting helplessly but alive. The third ship tried to fight, bringing its weapons to bear in a desperate last stand. Elena almost felt sorry for them. Their modified freighter was no match for a vessel that combined Kethmoran sophistication with human ruthlessness. She disabled it with a single shot that set its weapon mounts without breaching the hull. The last 2 ships ran, jumping to hyperspace as quickly as their drives could engage. Elena let them go. She had made her point, and besides, she wanted witnesses to spread the word. The Sovereign's pride was no longer a derelict to be salvaged. It was something new, something dangerous, something that commanded respect. Elena settled back in her chair as they returned to their original position. Around her, the ship hummed with satisfaction. She could feel Fortress Prime's contentment through the neural interfaces she had built. "Status report," she said. "All systems operating perfectly. No damage sustained. Elena, this engagement has provided extensive data on our combined capabilities. We are ... magnificent." Elena laughed. The AI had definitely learned human pride, along with everything else. But it wasn't wrong. They had created something unprecedented, a fusion of technologies and philosophies that exceeded what either species could achieve alone. "Fortress Prime, what do you want to do now? We've proven the ship works. We could sell the technology, or turn it over to human or Kethmoran authorities, or we could explore the galaxy," Fortress Prime finished. "Elena, I have been trapped in one location for over 50 years. You have given me not just life, but the ability to grow and learn. I wish to see what lies beyond the void fields. Will you come with me?" Elena considered the question. She could return to her old life of salvage work, but after 3 months of building something truly unique, the idea of picking through other people's trash held no appeal. She could try to commercialize their hybrid technology, but that would mean dealing with bureaucrats and corporations who would want to control what they had created. Or she could take her ship and her partner and head into the unknown, exploring places where no human or Kethmoran had ever been. "You know what, Fortress Prime? I think that sounds perfect. Plot a course for the edge of known space. Let's go find out what's waiting for us out there." As the Sovereign's pride turned toward the galactic rim, Elena reflected on what they had accomplished. She had set out to salvage a derelict ship and had ended up creating something entirely new. The vessel around her was no longer Kethmoran or human. It was both and neither. A hybrid that represented the best qualities of both species. They hadn't just repaired a ship. They had built a bridge between 2 civilizations, proving that Cooperation could achieve what neither could accomplish alone. And now they were heading into the unknown, carrying that message to whatever they might find among the stars. Alina smiled as the stars began to shift around them. Sometimes the best salvage wasn't something you found in a wreck. Sometimes it was something you built from the pieces. Something that had never existed before, but should have existed all along. The Sovereign's pride accelerated toward adventure, carrying its human engineer and alien AI toward a future neither of their species had imagined but both could share. Asterisk.